I just finished listening to a podcast episode and we have to talk about it because it just clicked in my brain in a way that makes sense for me and hopefully for you. He was basically talking about how you can tell yourself new lies to create the person you want to become in the future. The way I internalize the podcast, which listen for yourself, our brains all work very differently. The way that I internalize what he was saying is that who you are now is basically a collection of stories that you've told yourself your entire life growing up, right? And that makes sense because at the time you told yourself that, you acted that way and you became that person. Here's a good example. You tell yourself the story that you're lazy, right? I'm lazy. And so then you do things that reinforce that statement, I am lazy, therefore becoming lazy. And it's a vicious cycle, right? Because you believe you're lazy. What he's saying is you can choose a new story to become the person you want to be in the future. And this is a message that I've heard before. This is a message that I've worked with my coach on before. And actually, I am lazy is something that I needed to reframe. Here's how we reframed it, and here's why it matters now. Back then, we reframed I am lazy to I am someone who lives an active lifestyle, because that for me was the opposite of lazy at that time. So I said, I'm someone who lives an active lifestyle. Then I decided to behave according to that new truth. So I'm someone who lived an active lifestyle at the time, became someone who walked every morning, someone who would go to the park and walk in the evenings once a week, someone who went to yoga twice a week, someone who lived an active lifestyle. So then eventually I wasn't the lazy person anymore because now I'm doing the behaviors of a person who lives an active lifestyle, and I became someone who lived an active lifestyle. The reason that it clicked so hard for me now is because in the cohort, we're doing the achieving alignment process. And for Q3, I've got my 3 focus areas. And as much as I have the gap and I have the actions that I'm taking, I was missing that affirmation statement. So for example, one of my focus areas is commitment and following through. I'm really bad at not following through for myself. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I'll do it, but I will bail on myself 10 out of 10. And I am taking actions and doing things in my daily life to no longer have that truth. But the thing that was missing for me was that statement of saying, going from I'm someone who bails on herself to I am someone who keeps her commitments to herself and follows through on what she says she's going to do. And I had that thought and I just said, oh my God, that's what I needed. This was the little gap to then write it down and say, no, yes, this is my focus area, but I needed to know I am someone who keeps her commitments to herself and doesn't bail on herself and follows through. And I know that reading that, I'm gonna then want to behave according to this new truth versus the old truth. And then that truth is gonna become reality. I think the funniest, maybe worst part about this whole thing is that this is something that I learned in coaching several years ago with my life coach, but I filed it away in the little file cabinet in my brain and it's just been gone and lost. And I needed to hear it today. I needed to hear the way he said it today for it to click in my mind again. I hope that helps. I have a couple more affirmation statements. I'm gonna call them affirmation statements. I don't know, new truths, whatever. I've got some new truths that I have to write that will align with my focus areas for this quarter. And I'm stoked because I'm someone who keeps her commitments to herself, damn it.